so I'm gonna do a project today where I'm gonna change out the engine on this Bilt Tomahawk stripper shredder machine. I got this off Facebook Marketplace maybe 2 years ago. It was like $75, which was a really good deal actually. This engine I think is the 5 horsepower model. I haven't looked up the actual model number. But anyway, I'm going to be changing it out for a Harbor Freight engine. Their newer 224cc Predator engine. So we'll show that later. And so I'm just going to show the process of doing that. So we're going to first unbolt this bracket here. The whole engine should pull away. I do anticipate needing to put on a new pulley, but that's not too bad. I should be able to find one over at Tractor Supply. So I'll try and document this process in case anyone else needs to do something similar. Another thing I think I'll probably have to do, this bracket here provides some support. The new engine should bolt on just fine through here, but I doubt this bracket will still work. So we'll have to see. I may end up adding something underneath to provide support. I just don't want to have the entire weight of the new engine just hanging off of the 4 bolts that attach here, and you'll see that. So I'll try to document this as I go. Okay, so I was able to successfully get the engine off the bracket, and I was able to use a pulley puller and pull off the pulley. That wasn't too bad, just used an impact wrench. All right, so I'm going to be using the Predator 224. I think the other one is 222? No, it's not that high. I'll have to look it up. 212. It's 212cc. So this is basically the 212cc Predator that's been stroked. Has a stroked crank on it. It's not going to get more RPM. It's going to get more torque. So it says it's getting 10% more torque. I think it's 10 foot-pounds as opposed to the other one, something around 6 foot-pounds. I should look that up before I post. It's only a 0.1 of a horsepower more. So the other one is 6.5. I believe this is 6.6 horsepower. And this one's like, ooh, it's like $40 more. So anyway, and you know, it's red. It'll match the chipper. So well, we'll unbox it here and probably clean up that plate that it mounts to. And figure out the pulley. Now that current pulley will work. Of course, it's in instructions, and oh, look at that! It even comes with looks like that's a carb rebuild kit. So, be my guess. I've installed, not this one, but I've installed a regular Predator engine, the 212, on a snowblower, and I was pretty impressed. It was really easy to install. Well, aside from getting the snowblower apart the way I needed it, but the engine part was fairly easy. So, yeah, good looking. There should be, you guys have all seen these, you can see plenty of videos on them. And we can see here, that pulley is not going to fit, so clearly I'll have to get another one. I have to measure this. I'm guessing this is a full inch, and this is probably 3/4 of an inch, be my guess. But anyway, we'll figure that out. And I think I'll need to put some washers here before we get that mounted on. And I'll just put this here. I don't want to, this is to retain the key there, so we don't want to lose that. And I think I'll get this plate cleaned up, and then we'll mount the engine on, and then we'll figure out the pulley. So, okay, so the next day actually it's a couple days since I was last messing with this. And a couple things. First, I went over to Tractor Supply and found a pulley that will work. So this is a 3/4 inch pulley, same size as the other one as far as diameter, except this one was like, an inch or inch and a quarter from the other engine. And this fits just fine. So anyway, I will secure that after we got everything in place. So let's put this back for a second. I'm gonna lose the key. So we got the pulley matched up. The next thing is the bolts. So I found the correct bolts from Tractor Supply as well. They're 5/16 by 24. That's the correct pitch on the bolt. It's very similar to a metric size. It's a fine thread 5/16 bolts, but it's not metric, so just make sure you don't try to put a metric bolt in. I did try that because I had some metrics that are very similar, but they didn't work obviously. So 5/16 with 24 pitch, and those are the ones that work. I got a little bit longer of the bolts than what were originally mounted, so that I could put a spacer here. I want to put 4 spacers, just because otherwise you'll hit the oil dipsticks, and you just need some gap there. But anyway, let's just go ahead and go through me putting this on. So for spacing, actual spacers are actually pretty expensive. So instead, I just got some nuts that are just slightly bigger than this bolt. So there's just a little bit of wiggle room, but not much. I'm just going to stack some nuts and washers here, and I think that'll be fine. So that should give us enough gap there. And I'll probably put some washers in as well. I've got some of those. And I think that'll give us plenty of gap. I am still debating about whether I want to add some extra support. We'll kind of go through that later. The original engine had this support coming off that was attaching to the top of the engine. One of my concerns is I don't want the engine, I don't want to crack the block, basically. This will all hold it. I have no doubt this will hold it. It's just a matter of over time, do I risk cracking the block? So I'm thinking of actually adding some bed mounts that will kind of come at an angle, and we'll see that later. It's kind of hard to show from this perspective. But just adding some extra support from underneath the engine, because this is the bottom. And hopefully that'll help prevent the possibility of cracking the block. And again, I may also add in this 5th one as well, just more strength. So. All right, so we've mounted this on. We've put the bolts in, the spacers. I originally had 2 nuts and a washer stacked underneath. I removed that and just went to 1 nut and a washer, and that was just so that the belt, so that this pulley would be able to line up more in line with the idler pulley, or really it's like a clutch pulley. It just barely makes it. So with the 2 bolts, that was, or 2 nuts and a washer, that was too much space. And this just barely gives us enough clearance. So that works out fine. So now we'll try and finagle it in here onto the chipper. See how heavy this is to try to hold it in place. Kind of would like a second person around, but I don't have a second person, so it'll just be me. You'll watch that. All right, here it is all mounted. I did test it out once, but there is still a couple things I want to fix. One is, if we look down in there, the little clutch idler pulley, it's not really lined up. It just barely gets it, and I think it's going to wear the belt out and probably cause some problems with the clutch. I think the solution is going to be to this bushing here is basically a spacer. I'll take this assembly off basically just shorten this, cut it, grind it down, something of that sort. Looking here, it looks like I do have some space because I'm going to move it over. So I think I can get this to move over just a little bit without it causing any problems. So yeah, you look there as it's where our alignment is at, and we're just not quite there. I do have it aligned with the lower pulley. I did have to make one adjustment, but that wasn't a big deal. So more so it's just this clutch pulley. So anyway, the engine starts, as can be expected, starts great, starts immediately. Obviously I added oil and gas. So very simple here. We got fuel on, and we can go to start. I think it'll probably just fire up right now just because I already run it. But switch the switch on. Very, very easy. And that's it. So, before I really do much, more, I think I want to definitely fix that pulley. Idler pulley, just shorten it so we can get better contact. I also really do want to add some support here. So, you know, there's these holes at the bottom that actually weren't used for anything. Actually, there may have been a separate cover that came with the machine for like protection here. That may have been what that was for, but I may use them to add support here. I don't know, that may not be enough of an angle. I may alternately add support, you know, down here or something. I don't really want to do what it, you know, had before was a bar coming out from here and across. There's not really a way to attach that. So I don't think I'm going to try that method. I think coming from underneath is better. I mean, this is already designed to hold it, and this really is a better mounting position than the side. You know, that's really for mounting accessories to the engine, like on a, you know, a water pump or a pressure washer, something like that, where it's not really supporting the engine, it's just holding the accessory. Here, we need to support the engine. So, and we get a little bit of strength from the pulley because it's pulling down as the engine's pulling down this way. But I just don't want to crack the case. So, you know, there's a lot of torque on this, so let's try to keep it alive. So I will come up with a solution for that and hopefully add that to the video.